Gentlemen, let's have an honest conversation. Cheating is one of the most painful betrayals a man can experience. It doesn't just break your heart, it shakes your confidence, your sense of trust, and your peace of mind. But here's the truth. Cheating rarely happens in isolation. There are signs, patterns, and personality types that often predict disloyal behavior. And if you're not paying attention, you'll ignore the red flags until it's too late. Today, I'm going to reveal 5 types of women who are most likely to cheat on you, and one final point that ties everything together. Let's dive in. The constant attention seeker is one of the most emotionally draining and psychologically manipulative types of women a man can become involved with. At first glance, she may seem exciting, lively, even irresistible. She's often charismatic, fun to be around, and knows how to keep a man on his toes. But beneath that surface lies a dangerous emotional dependency on external validation that will eventually consume the relationship. This woman isn't satisfied with affection from just one man. No matter how much you praise her, compliment her, support her, or show her love, it will never be enough, because what she truly craves isn't love, it's attention. And not just yours. She wants it from everyone. She constantly posts selfies with carefully chosen filters and captions designed to provoke likes and compliments. She's always checking her phone, always refreshing, always chasing the next little dopamine hit that comes from online approval. If her social media presence is more important than her real-life relationship, that's not just a modern annoyance. It's a sign of a deeper emotional void. She uses the internet as a mirror to measure her worth, and if the world doesn't validate her beauty, her desirability, her status, she begins to feel worthless. That insecurity drives her to seek out more and more attention, until one day that attention becomes physical. That DM turns into a conversation, that flirtation turns into a rendezvous, not necessarily because she planned to cheat, but because she's addicted to the feeling of being desired. You'll find yourself in a constant state of comparison. You'll wonder if you're enough. You'll try harder, love deeper, give more. But the truth is, nothing you do will fill the void inside her. She's not looking for a partner. She's looking for an audience. And the moment you stop clapping, she'll look for someone else who will. It's not just about social media either. In social settings, she'll flirt openly, even in front of you. She'll tell you it's harmless, that she's just being friendly, that you're being insecure or controlling. But you'll feel the disrespect in your gut. You'll sense that you're slowly being turned into a spectator in your own relationship. Over time, this woman will drain you emotionally. You'll feel like you're constantly competing with strangers for her attention. And it's not that she doesn't like you. She may even love you in her own way. But her love is never quiet, never secure. It's always conditional on how much attention you can provide at that moment. The scariest part is, many men mistake her attention, seeking for passion. They confuse her neediness with affection. In the beginning, she showers you with love, makes you feel like the center of her universe, but only because you're the newest source of admiration. And when the novelty fades, so does her loyalty. She needs to be seen, admired, envied by everyone. And when your gaze alone no longer gives her the high she needs, she starts to seek it elsewhere. These types of women often have unhealed wounds, perhaps from absent fathers, broken homes, past rejections, that fuel their endless desire to be validated. But as a man, you're not her therapist. You can support her growth, but you cannot save her from herself. If her self-worth is built on a foundation of attention, she will never be faithful to any one man, because attention is like a drug to her, and cheating becomes just another way to get her next fix. You could be the most loyal, loving, and supportive partner in the world, and still end up betrayed because you were never the problem. Her problem is internal, and unless she confronts it, she'll continue breaking hearts without remorse. The emotionally unstable woman is one of the most difficult types to form a genuine, lasting connection with. Her moods are unpredictable, her reactions are exaggerated, and her emotional state often dictates the direction of the entire relationship. One moment she's overflowing with affection, clinging to you as if you're the most important person in her life, promising the world, fantasizing about forever. But the next moment she's cold, detached, and suddenly you're the villain in a story you didn't even know you were part of. These emotional highs and lows are exhausting, but also deeply confusing for the man caught in her orbit. You begin to walk on eggshells, unsure of what might set her off next. Something as simple as replying too slowly to a message or not complimenting her when she expected it can trigger a meltdown. And when she's in a low mood, it's like she becomes a completely different person, accusatory, withdrawn, or self-pitying. She might blame you for her sadness, even if you had nothing to do with it. You start to feel responsible for her emotional roller coaster, and without realizing it, you begin to adjust your behavior to try and keep her happy. But it's a trap, because her emotional instability isn't about you. It's about her inability to regulate her own feelings. Over time, these constant emotional swings lead her to seek comfort outside the relationship. She may not initially plan to cheat, but during one of her emotional crashes, she craves immediate relief. Someone who listens without judgment, someone who makes her feel good temporarily. It might be a co-worker, an old friend, or even a complete stranger online. She tells herself it's harmless, just a conversation, but that emotional connection becomes a lifeline when she feels low, and from there it can escalate. Emotional instability often leads to poor impulse control. She doesn't think long-term, she thinks in moments, and if cheating in that moment makes her feel loved, desired, or important again, she may do it and regret it later, or worse, justify it. What makes this type particularly dangerous is that she'll often play the victim after cheating. She'll say you weren't emotionally available. She'll say you didn't support her enough. She'll flip the blame because accountability isn't part of her emotional vocabulary. And because you've been conditioned to manage her emotions, you may even start to believe her. That's how deep her instability can affect you. It warps your sense of reality. Emotional instability doesn't always show itself early. Sometimes she's on her best behavior at first, sweet, affectionate, vulnerable. You think you've found someone deeply emotional, even sensitive. But later, that sensitivity turns into chaos. And as much as you try to fix things, it always feels like you're trying to hold a relationship together with duct tape and hope. Her emotional state becomes the weather forecast for your life. Sunny one minute, storms the next. And during those stormy periods, if another man shows up offering her validation, warmth, or simply a listening ear, she's vulnerable to giving in. Because cheating for her isn't necessarily about sex, it's about escape. Escape from her own emotions, from the reality she can't control, from the relationship that no longer gives her the emotional comfort she demands at every turn. And when she cheats, it's not always followed by guilt. Sometimes it's followed by blame, shifting, gaslighting, or even denial. You may never get a straight answer or an apology, only more emotional confusion, more instability, and more damage to your sense of trust. The emotionally unstable woman needs healing, not romance. She needs therapy, not a boyfriend. and until she takes responsibility for her own emotional chaos, she will continue to wreak havoc on anyone who tries to love her. Loving someone like this becomes a constant battle with their demons, and eventually it begins to feel like you're losing your own soul in the process. You can't fix someone who uses emotional chaos as a defense mechanism. And no amount of love can make someone emotionally whole if they don't want to be. Cheating becomes just another symptom of a much deeper issue that you are not equipped to solve, no matter how deeply you care. The woman with the party girl mentality is the embodiment of temporary pleasures and short-term thinking. She thrives in environments where impulsivity is celebrated and discipline is seen as boring or restrictive. For her, life is about the next event, the next high, the next opportunity to feel alive. That sounds fun in theory, and in the early stages of dating, it can be thrilling. She's adventurous, always on the move, always surrounded by people. But that same energy that makes her exciting is the same energy that makes her a massive liability in a committed relationship. She doesn't like rules, boundaries, or consistency. Those things feel suffocating to her. She would rather chase spontaneous pleasure than build something stable. And in the nightlife world she often inhabits. Bars, clubs, house parties, festivals. Temptation is everywhere. Alcohol is flowing, inhibitions are lowered. Strangers flirt without consequences. And while not everyone who parties cheats, the woman who leaves for the party lifestyle is constantly dancing with danger. This type often lacks impulse control. She may not plan to cheat, but she doesn't know how to stop when the line between innocent fun and infidelity begins to blur. A few drinks, a flirty conversation, and next thing you know, she's crossed boundaries you both agreed on. She may claim it was just a kiss, or that it didn't mean anything, but it meant something to you, and that's the difference. Her lifestyle encourages behavior that constantly tests the limits of loyalty, and her inability to recognize when she's putting your relationship at risk becomes a form of betrayal in itself. You'll find yourself constantly worried when she goes out. You won't trust her friends, especially the ones who enable her behavior. You'll start to feel like you're parenting her rather than partnering with her. And the moment you try to express concern, she'll accuse you of being insecure or controlling. She'll use phrases like, "I'm just living my life," or "you're trying to change me." But what she's really doing is avoiding accountability, because deep down she knows that the way she lives is incompatible with commitment. But she wants both the lifestyle and the relationship. And that's where things start to fall apart, in moments of vulnerability, after a fight with you, after a stressful week, or simply out of boredom. She's more likely to give in to the attention of someone new. The party girl needs constant stimulation, and if your relationship starts to feel routine, she'll seek excitement elsewhere. Not necessarily because she doesn't love you, but because she loves the feeling of freedom more. And if that freedom leads her into someone else's arms for a night, she may rationalize it as a mistake, as something that just happened. The worst part is, she often doesn't see her actions as cheating in the traditional sense. In her mind, everything is flexible, negotiable, fluid. Commitment is more of an idea than a promise. She lives for the now and forgets about the consequences until it's too late. And when you confront her, she'll minimize it. She'll turn the situation around and make you question your own boundaries, your own expectations. But deep down, you'll feel the truth. She was never fully present in the relationship to begin with. Her heart was in the crowd, in the music, in the thrill, not with you. Loving a woman with a party girl mentality is like trying to build a foundation on shifting sand. The more you try to create stability, the more she resists. And when your need for peace collides with her need for chaos, something eventually breaks. Often, that break comes in the form of betrayal, because the party never stops, and when the music is louder than your voice, you know exactly where her loyalty stands. The woman who is still emotionally attached to her ex is one of the most quietly dangerous partners you can be with. At first, everything might seem fine. She might appear affectionate, present, and ready to move on. But if you pay close attention, the signs are always there. She brings him up in conversations, often disguised as casual comments or funny stories. She compares things you do to things he did, sometimes to praise you, sometimes to criticize. She still follows him on social media, maybe even interacts with his posts, and if you're really observant, you'll notice how her mood changes when he pops back into her digital life. What's happening is subtle but powerful. She's in a relationship with you, but a part of her is still emotionally loyal to someone else, and that part creates a gap, a space where emotional betrayal begins. Emotional cheating often comes long before physical cheating. It starts with thoughts, with curiosity, with nostalgia. She might say things like, "We just have a lot of history," or "I don't love him anymore, but he was a big part of my life." But what she's really saying is that she hasn't let go, not fully, and that's a problem, because when someone hasn't let go of their past, they're incapable of fully embracing the present. She might still have old pictures saved, or sentimental items she refuses to throw away. She might talk to him occasionally as a friend. She'll justify it by saying they're on good terms or that he's moved on. But what she won't admit is that a part of her secretly likes knowing he's still in her life. It makes her feel wanted, validated, even if she's no longer with him. And that emotional attachment creates a dangerous door, one that only needs to be cracked open for cheating to walk through. What makes this even more destructive is that it doesn't always look like cheating at first. She may not be sleeping with him, but she's emotionally vulnerable to him in a way she's not with you. If they talk when she's upset, if he still comforts her, if she still confides in him during emotional lows, that's a serious boundary violation, even if no physical lines have been crossed. Because the heart doesn't distinguish between physical loyalty and emotional investment. If her emotions are still tied to another man, you're sharing a relationship with a ghost, and that ghost will haunt everything you build together. You'll start to feel like you're always competing with memories, with the past, with a version of her that existed before you ever entered the picture. You may try harder to prove your worth, to show her you're different, to be better than her ex. But that effort rarely works, not because you're not good enough, but because she isn't ready to let go. She's stuck in an emotional loop, reliving her past while pretending to build a future. And when things get hard between you two, she'll begin to fantasize about the comfort of what she already knew. She might even start talking to him again, telling herself it's just to catch up. But beneath that catching up is a search for emotional safety, a desire to return to something familiar. That's when the danger of cheating becomes very real. Sometimes she reconnects with him because he represents unfinished business. Other times, she does it out of loneliness or resentment toward you. But whatever the reason, when a woman emotionally reopens a door to her ex, physical cheating becomes a matter of timing and opportunity. She might see him in person one day just to talk, and that meeting can easily spiral into something more. And if you find out, she might downplay it. She'll say it didn't mean anything. But what she won't admit is that she never truly closed the chapter on that old relationship. You were just living in the next paragraph. The woman who's still attached to her ex isn't always obvious. She may hide it well, but the danger lies in that hidden emotional connection, a thread that can unravel the entire relationship without you seeing it until it's too late. Because when her heart is split between two men, her loyalty is an illusion. You can't build a future with someone who still has one foot in the past, and no amount of love can compete with a ghost she hasn't buried yet. The entitled woman, the self-proclaimed princess, is perhaps one of the most deceptive threats to a man's emotional stability. At first, she may come across as you, confident, or simply knowing her worth. But what you begin to realize over time is that her sense of worth isn't based on self-respect. It's based on what she believes she deserves from others. This woman doesn't see a relationship as a mutual partnership. She sees it as a transaction. Your role is to provide. Her role is to receive. And the moment that dynamic shifts, or the moment she feels like she's not getting enough, her interest starts to fade. She's the kind of woman who measures love by how much money you spend on her, how many gifts you give, how many favors you do, and how often you put her wants before your own. If you dare to assert boundaries, she'll label you as selfish. If you ask for something in return, emotional support, loyalty, effort, she'll act offended, as if your expectations are unreasonable. And slowly, you'll begin to notice that everything is about her, her needs, her comfort, her emotions. You become less of a man in her eyes and more of a resource. What makes this type particularly dangerous is that her entitlement blinds her to loyalty. If she meets someone who can offer her more, whether it's more money, more status, more attention, she feels justified in exploring that opportunity. In her mind, she's not cheating. She's trading up. She sees herself as a prize. And if she feels like she's not being treated accordingly, she won't hesitate to pursue someone else who will treat her like the queen she thinks she is. Loyalty to her is conditional on lifestyle. And if your value decreases in her eyes, maybe you hit a financial rough patch, maybe you stop putting her on a pedestal, her desire to stay with you weakens. This woman thrives in relationships where the man is constantly trying to impress her, constantly proving his worth. And at first, she'll respond with affection, charm, and even sexual intimacy. But those things are tools in her playbook. They're not given freely, they're exchanged. Over time, you'll feel the pressure building. Not because she says it outright, but because you'll notice how she reacts when you don't do something for her. The cold shoulder, the silent treatment, the passive, aggressive comments. And eventually she'll start looking elsewhere. Not because she's unhappy emotionally, but because someone else might offer her more materially or socially. What's worse is that she often justifies her cheating by blaming you. She'll say you weren't treating her right, that you didn't step up, that she had no choice. But the truth is, she never saw love as a commitment. She saw it as a contract. And once you stopped fulfilling your end, she felt entitled to replace you. This isn't about love, connection, or compatibility. It's about what she can gain. And when you no longer serve her purpose, she feels no guilt in discarding you for someone who does. Loving this type of woman becomes a never-ending job interview. You're constantly trying to prove you're good enough, rich enough, attentive enough. And if you ever slip, even for a moment, There's always someone waiting in the wings who she believes might offer her more. The entitled woman may not cheat because of lust. She cheats because of leverage, because in her mind, love is earned through what you do for her, not who you are to her. And once you understand that, you realize she was never truly loyal to you. She was loyal to the benefits of being with you. And the moment a better offer presents itself, she doesn't think twice about moving on. The woman with low self-esteem is perhaps one of the most misunderstood when it comes to relationships, especially in the context of infidelity. At first glance, she may appear sweet, caring, even deeply appreciative of your attention. She clings to you in ways that seem affectionate, texts you often, compliments you, and expresses how lucky she feels to have you. But beneath that warmth is a quiet storm, a deep sense of inadequacy, insecurity, and emotional fragility that influences every interaction she has. Her need to feel wanted, validated, and desired is not just a want. It's a craving that drives many of her decisions, often without her even realizing it. And that craving, when not consistently met, can lead her into dangerous territory. You'll begin to notice how easily her mood is affected by external validation. A compliment from a stranger can lift her entire day. A lack of attention, even unintentionally, can make her spiral into doubt. She may begin to question how you feel about her if you don't constantly reaffirm her beauty, her worth, her desirability. It's not that she doesn't believe you love her. It's that she doesn't believe she deserves to be loved. That gap between your efforts and her self-perception becomes the breeding ground for emotional volatility. And when that volatility hits, she becomes susceptible to anyone who temporarily makes her feel good about herself. The danger with this type of woman is that she doesn't always cheat out of malice or premeditation. Often, it starts with an innocent conversation, someone giving her attention she's starving for. It might be a friend, a co-worker, a guy in her DM. She doesn't go looking for it, but when it finds her, she doesn't resist it. Why? Because for someone who doesn't truly value herself, external validation feels like oxygen. It makes her feel alive, worthy, important. And if you, her partner, are going through a busy phase, working more, dealing with stress, not texting as much, she starts to panic. Not because you did something wrong, but because her internal narrative whispers, maybe he's losing interest, maybe I'm not enough. When that fear takes over, she seeks reassurance in the worst places. She might respond to a flirty message instead of ignoring it. She might let a conversation go too far, and eventually she might cross a line, physically, emotionally, or both. And after it happens, she'll feel tremendous guilt. But instead of owning that guilt, she might blame you. She'll say she felt neglected. She'll say you weren't making her feel special. But the truth is, no man can fill the bottomless void inside someone who doesn't love herself. That's a personal battle she has to fight, and if she doesn't, her relationships will always be unstable. Another painful element is the way she reacts to guilt. A woman with low self-esteem doesn't always take accountability. Sometimes the guilt of cheating makes her turn cold and distant, not because she doesn't care, but because she's ashamed. She may sabotage the relationship entirely just to avoid facing what she did. Or worse, she'll pretend it didn't happen and leave with the secret, hoping you never find out, all while emotionally withdrawing from you. And you'll feel that withdrawal. You'll feel the shift in energy, the change in affection, the hesitations in her words. You'll sense something's off, but when you ask, she'll deny it, not to protect you, but to protect herself from dealing with her own broken reflection. The heartbreaking part is that you may genuinely love her. You may want to uplift her, support her, help her see herself through your eyes. But the truth is, if a woman doesn't believe she's valuable, she will sabotage anyone who tries to show her that she is. And that sabotage can take many forms, one of them being infidelity. She cheats not to hurt you, but to numb her own pain, even if only temporarily. And once that high wears off, she's right back where she started, feeling unworthy, ashamed, and broken. It's a toxic loop, one that no relationship can fix unless she's willing to confront the root of her insecurities head on. When you're with a woman who constantly needs reassurance, who crumbles under the weight of minor doubts, who clings to outside validation like a life raft, understand that her biggest battle isn't with you, it's with herself. And until she wins that battle, she will always be vulnerable to making decisions that destroy everything good in her life, even the man who truly cared for her. Cheating becomes a symptom of a deeper wound, one that can only be healed through deep personal growth, not temporary attention from the next man who tells her she's beautiful. The overly flirtatious woman is a complex and confusing type, often mistaken for someone who's simply outgoing or friendly. But beneath the surface of charm and social ease lies a deeper behavioral pattern that can be destructive in a committed relationship. This is the woman who constantly seeks attention, especially from men. Whether she's single or in a relationship, her radar is always active. Compliments from strangers, prolonged eye contact with other men, playful teasing, laughing too hard at another guy's jokes. It's all a part of her normal behavior. And while some people might brush it off as harmless or part of her personality, what many men don't realize is that this type of behavior isn't just playful. It's often strategic, even if she's not doing it consciously. She thrives on being desired. Attention is her currency, and the more she gets, the more validated she feels. She doesn't just want to be liked. She wants to be wanted, pursued, admired. Even when she's in a relationship, that desire for male attention doesn't stop. In fact, sometimes it increases. Being with a committed partner doesn't satisfy her. It merely enhances her image to others. She becomes more attractive to other men because she's taken, and that forbidden allure adds fuel to her need for attention. And this is where things start to spiral. The relationship becomes less about building emotional intimacy and more about how much attention she can command while still keeping you around. You'll begin to notice subtle red flags. She flirts with waiters, bartenders, guys at the gym. She brushes it off, saying she's just being nice, that you're overreacting, or that she's just a naturally friendly person. But friendliness has boundaries, and she crosses them frequently. She might keep in touch with old flings, follow provocative accounts on social media, or respond to comments from random men with emojis and playful messages. She'll claim it's harmless, but if the roles were reversed, if you did the same with other women, she'd likely call it disrespectful. Why? Because deep down she knows the line she's walking, and she's not willing to admit it. This constant flirting isn't just about fun, it's a power game. She gets a rush from knowing that men still want her. It reassures her that she still has it, that she can still turn heads. And when that attention fades, when she doesn't get the same reactions, she panics. She might ramp up the behavior, wearing more revealing clothes, posting thirst, trap selfies, starting flirtatious conversations online or in person. If you confront her, she'll accuse you of being insecure or controlling, flipping the script to make you feel like the problem. But you're not reacting to nothing. You're reacting to a consistent pattern of boundary, pushing that erodes trust and intimacy. The biggest danger with the overly flirtatious woman is that, over time, she becomes desensitized to where the line is. What starts as playful banter slowly turns into emotional affairs. She might find herself confiding in a male friend, enjoying his compliments a bit too much, maybe even comparing him to you when things are tense at home. She doesn't go into these situations intending to cheat, but because she craves validation so deeply, she doesn't stop herself when things cross into dangerous territory. And if she ever feels unappreciated, bored, or emotionally neglected in your relationship, even momentarily, she'll seek that missing piece elsewhere, usually from someone who's been orbiting her, waiting for the opportunity. What's especially painful is that she rarely sees it as cheating. She convinces herself that because nothing physical happened, at least at first, she hasn't done anything wrong, but you feel the betrayal anyway. You notice the emotional disconnect, the way her energy is scattered, the way she lights up when certain guys message her. You feel her pull away from you emotionally even as she insists she's still committed. It's gaslighting at a subtle level, and over time it chips away at your confidence, your sense of masculinity, your trust in the relationship. Being with a woman like this means constantly questioning her motives, constantly monitoring your own reactions, and constantly feeling like you're not enough, because her hunger for male attention never truly ends. It doesn't matter how attractive, supportive, or loving you are. She's chasing a high that no single man can provide consistently, and when she finally crosses the line, and she often will, it won't be because you failed as a partner. It will be because she could never sit still in emotional security. She needed the thrill, the chase, the dopamine hit of knowing she could still attract men, and in that pursuit, she'll trade loyalty for fleeting moments of excitement, even if it costs her someone who truly cared. The woman who constantly compares your relationship to others is quietly planting seeds of dissatisfaction, and those seeds, over time, can grow into betrayal. She's the one who's never fully present with you because her mind is always measuring your relationship against someone else's. Whether it's a friend's engagement ring, a celebrity's vacation photos, or a couple she follows on Instagram who post about perfect Sunday mornings, she's always looking outward to define what love should look like, instead of focusing inward on what the two of you are building. This external lens becomes the filter through which she sees everything, including your flaws, your efforts, and your value as a man. She's not just admiring other relationships, she's internalizing them as standards. So, when your reality doesn't match her fantasy, she doesn't see it as a natural difference. She sees it as failure. If you don't buy her flowers like her friend's boyfriend does, she sees you as unromantic. If you don't take her on spontaneous getaways like that influencer couple does, she calls you boring. If you don't post her online or shower her with public validation, she questions whether you're proud to be with her. And instead of coming to you to communicate, to understand, or to build something that reflects both your needs, she quietly begins to withdraw emotionally, because to her, you're not enough, not because of who you are, but because of who you're not. Social media becomes her measuring stick, and that's a dangerous path. It creates an illusion of perfection that no real relationship can live up to. You could be a loyal, supportive, hardworking partner, but if someone she follows is getting a designer bag or surprise proposal or steamy anniversary post, your consistency starts to look dull in her eyes. And that disillusionment doesn't just stay in her head. It begins to reflect in her behavior. She becomes more critical, less appreciative. The little things you used to do that once made her smile now barely get acknowledged. She starts focusing on what's missing rather than what's present. She begins to believe she deserves more, not based on what's real, but based on what's curated. Eventually, this dissatisfaction turns into emotional vulnerability. That's when someone else, a man who represents the fantasy she's chasing, can slip in. He might be flashy, confident, spontaneous. He might say all the right things and make her feel like the main character in a romance novel. And because she's already convinced herself that you're not enough, she opens the door. It could start with innocent conversations, playful messages, or subtle emotional confessions. But it rarely stays innocent. She starts comparing again, only this time she's comparing you to the man she's emotionally investing in behind your back. The danger is she doesn't see this as betrayal at first. She sees it as exploring possibilities. She might even rationalize her behavior by saying things like everyone flirts, or it's just texting, or he understands me in ways you don't. But the truth is, she's building an emotional bridge to someone else, and every step she takes on that bridge leads her further away from you. And because she's addicted to the idea of ideal love rather than real love, she won't even see the damage she's causing. She'll convince herself that her actions are justified, because in her mind, she's just searching for the version of love she thinks she deserves. Over time, you'll notice the shift. She'll be colder, more distant, less interested in connecting with you. Her eyes will wander, not just physically, but emotionally. You'll start to feel like a placeholder in her life, someone she's settling for while she fantasizes about being somewhere else with someone better. And if she ever acts on that fantasy, whether it's cheating physically or emotionally, she may not even feel deep remorse, because by then she's rewritten the narrative in her head. She's the victim, the woman who wasn't appreciated, the partner who waited too long for you to change. And in that story, her betrayal isn't a mistake, it's a liberation. What makes this kind of woman especially dangerous is that her dissatisfaction isn't based on who you are, but on an illusion. You can't win, because the standard she's chasing isn't grounded in reality. It's photoshopped, filtered, edited, and curated. No matter how loving, committed, or loyal you are, it will never be enough for someone who's always looking over your shoulder, wondering if the grass is greener elsewhere. And in that mindset, cheating doesn't always happen out of lust. It happens out of fantasy. She's not seeking connection. She's chasing an idealized version of love that doesn't exist. And when she can't find it with you, she'll look elsewhere, even if it means destroying the one thing that was real all along. In the end, it's not just about the act of cheating. It's about the mindset, the patterns, and the emotional vulnerabilities that lead to it. These 5 types of women don't all cheat for the same reasons, but they share a common thread, a disconnect between reality and their internal needs. Whether it's rooted in insecurity, emotional immaturity, a craving for attention, or unrealistic expectations, the danger lies not just in their actions, but in their inability or refusal to confront the deeper issues driving them. As a man, protecting your peace means recognizing these patterns early, setting firm boundaries, and understanding that no amount of love, effort, or sacrifice can change someone who isn't willing to grow. Know your worth, and never settle for someone who puts your loyalty at risk to soothe their own chaos.